Have to.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to be going live here in a moment. So just give us a second. All right, we are live here. So aloha e como mai to my dear friends here who are Joelle. I'm getting to meet for the first time, and Danny, of course, is becoming a staple in our HIAMFT diet. It's so great to be with you both, and to everyone who's going to be watching this. Um, it's great to share this time. So I'm John Souza. I'm the president of the Hawaiian Islands Association for Marriage and Family Therapy. And I'm going to let Joelle and Danny introduce themselves. So either one of you.
Joelle, go ahead.
Aloha from Kohala, North Kohala here in Hawaii. I'm Joel Tan, and I'm an MFT candidate with North Central University. In my daytime, I do work running social impact programs here in our town, working with different kinds of initiatives, primarily to support wellness and recovery and mental health here. And I'm also an executive coach. So aloha.
Aloha, Joelle. Thank you.
Aloha, I'm Danni Gardner. I'm the East Hawaiian rep for Hawaii Islands Marriage and Family Therapy. I'm also an MFT student at North Central University. Currently, I'm a full-time student and I'm a volunteer in the community. I live in Pahoa, Hawaii.
Wow. Check this out. We've got Big Island represented here. We're rolling deep with Big Island and NCU. So I teach at NCU. I've also done several internship placements for NCU students. I used to teach at Argosy when they closed, and I felt like it was a bit of a responsibility to help those students that I had who were so close to being done get through the process. And I really have a special place in my heart for NCU because they took on so many of those students who otherwise would have had to basically just paid for an additional set of courses that they'd already taken. So big shout out to NCU for being willing to do that. Well, so what we're here to talk about today, we've got the legislative session that's going on right now, and there are bills that we have submitted. HIAMFT and the Hawaii Psychological Association and the National Association of Social Workers Hawaii chapter,
Hmm.
vis-a-vis our lobbyist, our joint lobbyist, Becky Gardner, who's representing us. And the two bills, one having to do with audio only telehealth and the other having to do with an associate level license for us mental health providers, are making their way through the process of going through the Senate and going through the House. And one thing that we wanted to do at HIAMFT is really highlight the real world effect of these bills, rather than just some administrative abstract process, to really talk about real people who could potentially be impacted by these bills if they were made
Mhm.
law. So that's why Joelle and Danny are here to offer us any insights or thoughts about the bills, how you imagine that they might affect you, or any experiences you've had either with audio only telehealth or this idea of an associate level license.
Yeah.
So I open it up.
Uh, uh, okay, so I'll say this. For those of you who don't know North Kohala, we are very much isolated. I mean, Hawaii Island is already an outer island, but I would say that Kohala and Ka'u are competing for the most remote. And
Yes.
and it isn't just a kind of a geographical remoteness. There's also a way that we're in a time machine with most towns, so that telephone only thing. So listen, flyers here in 22 are still the thing.
Paper.
Flyers and physical paper flyers and physical boards are still the thing. And while the rest of the world is moving toward remote video conferencing, all of that, know that the highest acuity and highest need clients are the ones who are experiencing the brunt end of the technology gap, right? So often, if they can get to a phone, often it's even text, like often sometimes, the counseling begins with and is sometimes carried out through text because of what people have the means to have. In addition, there is a dearth of service providers. And I came into an MFT program already with a lot of paraprofessional training, having done case management work for about 20 years. And I have an executive coaching practice. And I just think in terms of equity, I just think in terms of we're really serious about getting this help to those who are most in need, that those two bills would be supported. I mean, we are not, I think the emphasis on how remote we are and the level of needs and how high acuity most of our clients are. We're talking about folks that are living, packed in small homes, multi-generational households that have, and I don't want to overstate the problems, but there are a lot of problems that come with that level of need. So I think these two bills would, I think, just be a stopgap. I think there needs to be more that needs it, but at the very least, let's turn on the access.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Joel. That is really imagining that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pahoa is similar. I mean, even though we have more infrastructure and we have a lot of people moving into the community, there are many locals who still live in their original homes and their multi-generation homes. In the street that I live in, I'm very fortunate because my husband and I live in one home, but in two other homes, there's probably anywhere between 12 to 17 people in a home that's about 1,500 square feet.
Right.
But that's very common in the local culture. And accessibility, not everybody can have fancy internet. I'm fortunate I get to have that because of school, but my neighbors don't have access to that. They don't, some of them still have the old fashioned flip phone. It still works.
Burner phones are still,
Right. They need to have accessibility. I've talked to some of my friends. I don't share this with everybody, but now I'm going to. I have a disability. I'm very hard of hearing. I'm partially deaf, and it's difficult for me. I came from a hearing, growing up hearing, so I'm able to read lips. I'm able to, I guess, just read and put things together. But for people who are not as fortunate or have other disabilities, they also need accessibility. Some of my friends don't have transportation because they're in a wheelchair. They don't want to have to try to figure out how to get to see their therapist. So having a telephone call could save their lives.
Right.
I mean, these are things that they've shared with me. I posted the bills on Facebook, so I got a lot of feedback. I've literally been on the phone night and day with various people and their stories.
That's right.
We do need to focus on the disability sector as well.
Oh, yeah.
Many of them do not want to physically leave the house. Some of them have fears of leaving. We haven't really addressed that part of it. And I think it's very important, the bill, that we speak to that part as well. I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But now that I've been taking all those calls, it makes sense. We need to open up the world to them as well. And I'm not sure how to reach that or how to get to them. And I guess this is the stepping stone.
Wow. I'm just kind of blown away by your shares right now.
Yeah.
Really appreciating your vulnerability, Danni. I think the stories that you're sharing are so important because it's so easy to not see those stories.
Yeah.
If you're not living in it, it's easy to believe that my lifestyle is how everybody lives. Let's say if you're living in Honolulu, and you might drive by some of the tent cities and see a lot of people who are houseless, yet uh, it still seems like, hey, they're in the city, they could walk to a therapist's office or they have access to services. But it's not like that in the rural communities.
No. And as we know, access doesn't work like that on free will. I mean, the reality is like people from a tent city just even getting to a commercial area without getting stopped or arrested is a thing. And the reality is that maybe I don't know who the new students are, but I've chosen to do a license to practice in this community. While I wasn't born and raised in Kohala, I have enough Filipino in me and enough of a kind of background of understanding interdependency and how extended family works. And that's why I want to shift my practice here. So why not empower more folks like me who want to provide culturally effective services to provide it now when it's most needed. The ICE problem here and the alcohol problem here is not abstract. It is every day. It comes out in the businesses that open and close, not just COVID, right? But the ways that COVID has exacerbated the existing issues around poverty and lack of access. As it stands now, we just recently interviewed a number of recovering folks and families, and one of the key things that they brought up that get in the way of healing and recovery is all of the rapid gentrification that's happened here. And folks are doing the remote work. And again, while the rest of the world is moving forward with that, the folks that were already here, who were born and raised here, we want to make sure that they're not forgotten. So creating that access by telephone only, just one more, provides that opportunity. And secondly, adding more support, like culturally competent, like residentially situated people who do therapy work, healing work, I think is the most critical, given that you have to understand the hyperlocal context if you're going to be effective in it.
Gosh, just to be clear for anybody watching this, these are not paid professionals. There is no financial remuneration going on.
That's what we're trying to change.
Yeah. This is totally spontaneous. It's really just speaking deeply to what I've been hoping would be the conversation here. The importance of the regional therapist who comes from that region or is at least in that region. It's sort of similar conversation around police officers. In cities where you import most of your police officers, you tend to have higher rates of violence, of police violence.
Right.
I think the utilization versus access question is what comes up here. Yeah, Hawaii actually does a really good job of giving a lot of people who don't have private insurance through MedQuest.
Yep, Quest.
One thing I love about living here and having, I don't mind paying higher taxes because I know it's really helping to cover a lot of people. Yet not a lot of people are utilizing their insurance, particularly for mental health, partly because if they're, say, Filipino and they look for therapists online or a friend tells them about a therapist, frankly, if they see me and then they see Joel, they might say, well, I'm sure the white guy's nice, but really, I want to go to Joel. But if I'm the one who's licensed and Joel isn't, they might not be able to go see him, or they might have to put money out of pocket that they just don't have. Right? And that's just the financial aspect.
Right. Yeah. And I would just say so many of us, I would hope that, in addition to being a resident here and understanding the context, is that some of us speak the native languages of the folks, of our neighbors and folks around. And as you can imagine, that is huge in terms of connection and understanding. So I would say that I don't necessarily see what the disadvantage is. I don't think there's any kind of loosening or relaxing of rigor, or, I don't think there's any compromise to risk mitigation. Like I think it's still within kind of risk mitigation. Like I just have a hard time of understanding why this isn't a win. Both bills.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so the question I've heard is, how would an associate level license compromise the quality of the care? And I don't think that's the question to ask, as much as how can an associate level license increase the quality of our care
Right.
and utilization?
Yeah. It comes in with a built-in assumption, and then it really does bear examining what the profile of the MFT student is in 2022 in Hawaii. I mean, I'm not doing this, I'm not straight out of high school. I am a fully grown man who's clear about the what I want to do and how I want to spend my energy in terms of how I want to serve community. So at the end of the day, it's like that assumption really merits some reconsideration, because at the end of the day, a lot of us, I guess just anecdotally, I'm just seeing a lot of us come in already with life experience and professional experiences that only create another facet to the work that we're doing. So yeah, I think there's gonna be measures and ways to kind of evaluate how it's doing. I mean, I don't know if supervision, like why would be exempt from any other protocol that's already been evolved and developed. So why don't we trust in the fact that we've already created a good foundation to evolve into something that's more expansive and that creates more access.
Agreed.
And the associate licensing is not new.
Yeah.
23 other states in the US have associate licenses. We have the Code of Ethics. We have a board that oversees us, not just at the national level for MFTs, but we also have the state board. We also have the state rules and regulations. So nothing is changing as far as the foundation. All the layers of
Right.
the safety nets that protect our profession, they're not changing. They're still there. The only thing we're adding is more resources. Was it 320 clients to one? That's the ratio, right?
You're on Big Island, yeah.
On the Big Island.
And I'll bet if you zoomed in on Puna or Kohala, you'd probably see those numbers increase. Yeah. Well, look, this was meant to be a brief talk story session, and I think we've made our points. Joel, I want to thank you so much. Mahalos. And Danny, mahalo for making the connection and offering your wisdom as well. We'll keep you posted. And for folks who are interested in either testifying or having us testify on your behalf, join HIAMFT. Or you can sign our petition, which is in the link to our bio on Instagram. And that's all for today.
Mahalo for organizing, John. Yeah, everybody, please support this. Mahalo. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Aloha.